Hello, this is Ryan with M2Skins, and today we are going to be installing an ultimate kit on the new Asus TUF A14. We're going to start off by cleaning the surface. You don't want any dust and debris on there. I'm going to take the skin. It's got a spot that has tack tape on it. You need to make sure that that's on there really good. And we're going to start by peeling at the corners. Make sure you get the tabs and fold it over so it doesn't crease. You're going to pull it back slowly, one corner at a time. You're going to do this on every one. Be careful right here by these hinges, you got to lift it on the inside too. Pull to about the middle is the best way to do it. And I like to go back to where I started and pull one final time. I'm going to set that aside for now. We're going to start at the back by these hinges, and you want just a little bit of the top lid showing when you line it up. So I'm going to go to this corner here, this rounded corner, get it as close as I can. There should be just a little gap around the hinge too. And we're going to go over to this corner and make sure it's lined up. I'm going to flip it around. And you'll see that it's not lined up with the front ones. That's because we need to stretch it a little bit to get it to line up. So you're going to give it a little tug, line up that corner. Then the same with this corner. You're going to line it up to where the corner fits real nice on the curve. And that should make it pretty straight like it is now. Then we're going to take and start in the middle and slowly work our way out, pushing the air outwards. Take your time doing this. Don't go super fast because you can get wrinkles if you're not careful. I like to work on one side and then go to the other. However you want to do it is fine. Now be careful around this logo. You want to go right over that area. Make sure it's adhered well. If you get little bubbles, you can just kind of go back and forth and it releases the air from behind the material. So we're just going to go up to the edge. Now we got it all nice and smooth. I like to start on this back piece because it doesn't have any wraparound pieces. So what I do is, because this top lid has a little bevel, like a 45-degree bevel right on this edge, the whole way around. I like to start with my finger right on the edge and just slowly go back and forth, pushing pretty hard to get the vinyl to conform to that 45-degree angle first of all. And then I take and start wrapping around that other piece to the side. And that gives a nice contact area without any bubbles. Then I go around to the sides, do the same thing. I push pretty hard to get that bevel worked in. Same with these little corner pieces here. You can do the same thing. They're easy. Then the other side. And then finally this front piece. I got a little air there. I'll show you on this piece, that bevel. I don't know if you can see it, but silver is kind of hard to see. But there's a bevel right there, that little line you need to work in first. wrap around the rest. And you just rub on it until it sticks in place, because this is pressure sensitive and it does get more tacky with time as well. So if it does start lifting or something on an edge, you can just rub your finger over it and it'll keep doing that, and eventually it will stay where it needs to be. Okay, now we're gonna do the corners. And I like to just they got these little flaps and they should reach where they line up. I like to take and just carefully go line up straight with them, and then roll your finger around like so, like that. Now these back ones can be a little tricky because it's rounded also both directions. It's rounded backwards and it's also curved this way, so you kind of have to work that corner in a little bit better. It may try and lift on you, but like I said, you can just keep going back over and it will eventually just stop and it'll stay in place where it needs to be. Heat also works. If you have a little heat gun or something, you can just hit it with a little bit of heat and that will also help it stick. All right, now that we got that done, go back over this real quick, the logo, make sure it's good and sticking. Now we're gonna carefully remove the transfer tape by rolling it back over itself, like so. All right, now we can move on to the other little pieces for this top lid. We have these little hinge pieces here. I like to use the tweezers on these. Lift them off my finger, get them with the tweezers. Then you line them up with the back edge as best as you can. You work that back edge in with your finger and then just kind of roll up and over with the piece till it's in that crease in the seam there, like so. Do the same with this one. All right, now we just got these two back strips. There's a gap in the middle for the LEDs right here. So I like to peel these off. I actually like to start on the outside edge here. Get it to where it sits nice around that corner. It's fine to have a little gap because it's kind of made for that, because these corners are rounded, so we don't want it to catch on anything. Like so, just tack that in place and you carefully line it up. It's got a little stretch built into it, so you can give it a little tug to make it line up where you want it to. And just slowly put your fingers, touch a few times to get it to tack. And then you can just slightly tack it more and then slowly, and not much pressure, just like push a little bit to get it to stay till it's good. All right, this side. Just do the same thing. Wrong direction. Just get that outside edge to stick. And get it started here even like this. And take the other side, line it up to where it's right up to the LED X there. And I'm just gonna push like on this outside edge to get it to line up where it needs to be and slowly tack it like so. And there you have it. Wraparound top lid installed in our satin aluminum. All right, now we're going to install the ultimate interior. To do the same as the top lid, I'm going to wipe it down real good. Make sure there's no dust that can get trapped. From the corners, we're going to start on this bottom piece by the palm rest. We're going to start carefully, fold it back a little bit. Now this, near the trackpad, you got to be careful because it will try and do that right there. You need to make sure that little edge is lifted. You're going to go halfway across it like that, make sure the trackpad's lifted, and then you're just going to lay it back down. And this side, same thing. Lift it. Be careful here. There we go. You're going to set it in the general location it needs to be. And you're going to get your tweezers. This front corner right here, I like to get that lined up first. You want it pretty much right up, close to the edge, but not overhanging. Just tack it, one touch like that. And then you can take and use the trackpad edge. You want to get this top corner and this bottom corner lined up first. So I like to go from this point to this point up here, grab it with my tweezers. You might have to give it a little stretch, but you want just a little bit of that edge showing around the trackpad. Very, very small amount. And you can tack it right there. That will bring this piece to the right spot where it needs to be. Just give it a little pull upwards this way and that way and tack it. And then the bottom should be where it needs to be. I'm just going to give it a little pull and make sure that's lined up, and there we go. Now you can smooth this section out, make sure it's good and smooth. And we're going to turn this thing off. It's the only problem with this one. You touch the power button 1 second, it comes on. All right. So I'm going to go to this edge, this edge of the trackpad next. This corner should line up right here. So this is kind of hard to judge where this needs to be, but once you get this corner and this corner lined up, that should be right on that corner. And then you can take and make it flat and pull that. So we're going to start up here. Get this piece right here. You want it nice and straight too. You can kind of tell when it's in the right spot when it lays straight. Right about there. Same way with this bottom. And you can give it a little tug because we actually make this shorter so that you can stretch it slightly to get it in the right spot. So now we're going to line up this edge over here, this corner, and then the same with this top up here, pulling it to where that edge is straight. I'm just working the air out behind it. Now with this piece right here, you gotta be careful not to like go at an angle, go straight down and just touch in the right spot. If it's in the right spot and that gap looks right, you just go around and lightly touch it until it's, you can slightly push more and more pressure until it adheres good. And this bottom is gonna usually bow up slightly like that. So you're going to take, I like to grab it right here and just get it down in the right spot. Once again, touch there, and there. And now that you got a good placement for it, you can work your way around it like that. Don't go down over the edge yet, but that's where you need to go. All right, Now I like to start on this edge over here, work it back and forth slowly, downwards, till it wraps around on that flat surface on the side. And then you're gonna do the same with this side over here. And then the front is a little trickier with that spot in it. But I like to go on the sides first. Get that corner worked in really good to where it's flexing down really easy. So then this side over here. And back over to this side to where it's now flat on the front edge. And then back over to the other side. Now you can work on the middle. So that line, that piece right there should be about where it needs to go. You can take your tweezers if not and move it. Mine looks pretty good. I just need to move it down slightly. Then you want to take and same thing like the sides. You just rub back and forth, push that piece into that little indentation right there in front of the trackpad. It should end up looking like this. Pretty good with only a little bit of visible openings around it. All right, and then the sides should look like this too. They should come up pretty much to where that seam is. Should line up like that. Then you have your corner pieces, and you do this the same as the top lid. You just wrap them around, and they should fall right where they need to. Should be very minimal gap, if any, right there. This side I accidentally hit with my hand, so it already kind of did it, but it's about the right spot. But if you don't get it in the exact right spot, you can take your tweezers and carefully lift it, and then go back over like this, roll it, and get it where you need it to be. All right, and that side's the same way. Should line up with that edge from this bottom piece. This bottom piece is a separate. It'll actually wrap up and touch, or get real close to touching right there. That seam will still be visible, but it'll wrap up on both sides. All right, now that we did that part, we're going to work on these side pieces. These are they can be pretty tricky if you're not careful. So I like to start with these, like pulling carefully back and forth. You don't want it to pull, because if you pull it too hard, it'll cause right there. You can see how it's trying to bend it. So I like to go back and forth and go to this corner. Make sure we're lifting. Careful over where the buttons are too, that's really thin. And you can go to where like the start button is and lift from there. All right, so normally on the Pro Kit, you would start with these buttons and line them up, but with this being an ultimate kit and wrapping around the sides, you actually need to start on the sides. So probably the best way to do this is to leave it half open, like so. And you take your side piece here. This could be a little tricky, but these ultimate kits are a lot more coverage, so. All right, and I take that front edge and line it up as best as I can. I'm gonna use a combination of the tweezers and your hands. Should be like pretty much no gap there. And then everything else should kind of go where it needs to go, as long as you go to this back corner here. Just lightly give it a tack spot when it's in the right spot. Push that a little bit harder there to keep that to stick more while I work the rest. should be a little gap around everything because you don't want to have the vinyl right up to the edge, because when you're using these ports and you're putting things in it, you can actually, you don't want to like catch the vinyl and end up ripping it or lifting it. So we make a little bit of a gap around those instead of having them real tight. All right, so then I'm just gonna go back and forth like this, make sure it's flat, work it down, and then this piece, you're just gonna let it hang for now until we flip it back around here. And just like the sides, we're just going the opposite direction. Now we're going this way. All right, now we're gonna line up those buttons. The audio buttons here. There's a little cutout for this hinge too that needs to be taken into consideration. So these are the same way. You have like a small little gap around each one. It should be centered on there. It can be tricky because the screen actually overhangs this inside part. So this piece actually kind of goes underneath it slightly. I like to get one spot that looks right like that. There we go. Looks pretty good. Just carefully line those up. You just want those about the right spot. Lightly tack that stuff right now until you get it in the right position, and you can kind of just push the buttons down and get it to stay. All right, now that we got that lined up about where it needs to be, I'm going to carefully push up here, get this all worked in. This edge still needs pushed back a little bit like this. And that should line this corner up here really close as well. Just work your way out like so. Just don't go too fast, because if you do, you can create wrinkles. There, like that, and lined up real nice. Now we just have to bring this piece over to our power button. I like to grab it with the tweezers, and this is also designed with a little bit of a gap around it. It doesn't need to be right up against it. You have a little bit of wiggle room. Once again, that screen, it can kind of be annoying, because I like to line up this corner of it as best as possible. And usually when that's in the right spot like that, then the rest it will fall where it needs to. And you just carefully push back like that. And tugging that a little bit gets all the slack out of here, so you don't end up with like a bunch of slack or fingers showing up. There you go, there's that piece. Now we're gonna do this other side over here. I'll do it the same as I did the other side. I'll set it up like this. Carefully pull it. Careful this inside piece. Line it up to that corner. And this corner here. And the other ports should line up where they need to be. Should just follow this little gap right here around it, and everything will line up. Now you just go back and forth, working it over, around too, just like the other side. I'm gonna flip it back around. This side's easier. You just work it in. You can take your tweezers and give this in the right area at least. Yeah, like that. And this should line up. This should center up here between the buttons with the same amount of gap. Grab that and line it up like the other side. Got a little too low, too high. All right, there we go. I'll take our little other extra button here, spot. And you can add this if you want. Just line it up, center it up here. Do the trackpad next. Trackpad, I just like to take, line it up through these bottom two corners like this. Just make it to where you can see that there's a gap and you can just see the trackpad on all edges. So you just want just to see the edge of the trackpad below the vinyl, and on the sides like this. I lay it touched there, and when that happens, everything else should pretty much line up. If this edge is straight and this is equal, then you just take in the center, go upwards like this. It should line up your trackpad. Like so. Now we just got to install inside hinge pieces. They go right here, finishing off the hinge from the outside pieces. And then we got two final pieces here to put on, and that's for these back corners. They're in the right location. So if we had it this way, this one goes over here. These, I take and line up this edge here, get it lined up to the bottom like that. And then it's going to look like it's going out like that, but once you take and you slowly wrap it around, just watch that bottom edge. You just guide it around. It'll line up where it needs to be. Same thing with this side. Work it around till it's in the right spot. And there you have it. There is the wraparound ultimate interior. Pretty much changes the complete color now that we've got the top and the wraparound. Now we're just going to finish with the bottom, and it'll pretty much be a complete color change. All right, now we're going to work on the bottom part. Flip it around. Once again, make sure it's clean, no debris. This has tack tape on it too, on the vent area. So you need to make sure that that is nice and good and stuck on there. All right, we're gonna pull from the corners like the other pieces. This has a split here where it goes around the corner. You need to be careful and make sure you're grabbing both pieces rolled up like that. This is also thin. You need to pull from the corner inwards slightly till you get about there. Stop. Go to this corner, same thing. We work our way around here. Go to about halfway. This should be the final one. There we go. All right. This one you just want to get laid down on here. It's pretty easy to line this one up because you got a lot of footholds and spots to line it up. So I like to get these first two corners right here lined up right over these the footholds here. little feet. Should be just an even gap around there. I just tack it in place, go to this side, tack it. That should line up the center one here, right where it should be. You can touch there, get that tacked. You can lift this and make sure that this is all straight. That's lined up, that's lined up. This box should be lined up. This sticker actually isn't lined up perfectly in there. That's why it looks a little off. But you have 2 more feet right here, really small ones, and those should be centered up in these holes as well. If that's all lined up, then you're good. These aren't going to be perfect back here when you initially line it up. All right. So I like to start in the center here by this piece. I go behind it and I just push forward like this to the bottom of this box where the sticker is. Your screw holes should also line up. There should be a slight gap around them. Go to this front edge before it starts going over. I like to go out here. Try and get around this box. Just gently work it in. You don't want it to go fast and end up creasing it. Just working the area outwards from the center. There's a little edge right here. I like to go right up to the edge, and that's where I stop for now. Once I get this front part done. These vents should line up where there's a little gap around there, if you can see. Small little gap. You see the little gap around there. This is pretty much lined up. Little gaps around the screw hole. All right, so now that this piece is nice and smooth, tacked, I'm going to work on this section. I'll flip it around. Lift it up. Just want to take and get, tweezers work good for this too. Get these lined up, this big one and these back feet lined up. Just like to get it good and tacked. I'm not going to go straighten out everything yet. All right, then I come back to the middle piece here. And I start in the center by this screw hole and I work up towards this back foot, the big one. Make sure you press really good over these small pieces on the vent openings. Once again, I'm going to go to the edge, the outside edge here, around. Get it right up to the edge, and I'm going to stop for now. Sometimes your fingers work better than the squeegee in certain spots. All right, now that we're up to that edge, and we have all this loose material on the outside edge, just want to flip it back around. I'm going to line up this strip back here where it needs to go. Use the screw holes on here. Just line them up, center them in the hole. I take the squeegee in between, push towards that foot again. Carefully on these spots, just push down like this. You can run your card between the 2 feet too, it will fit. I'm gonna go touch in here right by this vent because this edge hangs over, and then work it flat. Same way with this one. Make sure that's good. Tack before you start pushing pressure on it, this edge. I'm gonna go back to the front. I'm gonna start up there with the folding over the edges. So you push pressure on that edge, get it to stick good. Oh, right by this foot here, it bends right after it. So I like to lift this up right here and push my squeegee, not that hard, my squeegee right there. Get that stuck really good before you roll it down around. And I just work back and forth, working that vinyl in. Working your way out towards these corners. We're not going to go to the corner yet. We're just going to work our way out towards them. All right, now we're going to get the corners where they need to go. And what I like to do on these is I take my finger and I'm going to leave this flap loose. I'm going to take this flap, just push it down straight. Just follow the angle. That will put it in the correct spot where it needs to be. It'll be back from that corner because we don't want it right up against the corner because it could catch onto things when you're carrying it and stuff. Same thing with this one over here. Just carefully work it in. All right. Now I'm going to go to the sides. Start with this side over here. You can use your squeegee. I start in the middle on these, working outwards like this. Careful around that vent too. And then when you get towards the front up here, that gap that was between those two, you should be able to just push down and get it to line up like so. And that'll put everything in the right spot. Might get some wrinkles, but that's fine. They work out here. Okay, we did that corner. Go to about right here. We'll work on that back side next after this other side. All right, this other side the same way. We want to push outwards to the edge. Go to about this back foot here, stop. This front corner is just the same thing. We're just gonna line it up and push it flat, get all the air out, tack that there around the vent, smooth it out. Now these have little wings on them that will flap over and cover the sides, so you're gonna wanna fold those over. Just like that. Should have a little gap there like that. And they don't go the whole way up to the front. They come back from that front corner slightly right there on both sides so they don't catch. All right, now we're gonna work on the back. I like to start in the middle area. Kind of accidentally hit that before, got it to stick, but we can pull it back up slightly. The vinyl is very forgiving, so even if you get little wrinkles and stuff, it's very easy to get it out. All right, I'm gonna do this the same way. I'm gonna work back and forth on this edge to get it to conform. All right, now we just have these back corners. take and line up the screw holes here. And I have a little bit of a finger that pops up there, and you just work it out like that. Same way with this side. It's already falling into where it needs to be, the right spot. You just work your fingers on it, get it nice and the air out of it. Like so. Corner should look like that. Should be a little bit of a gap because you don't want to catch on anything, so that's why we don't have it right up to the edge there on these back corners, because it's so rounded. But that's what it should look like. Now we are going to pull off the transfer tape. Go ahead and hit it one more time just to make sure those pieces are really small, so you want them to stick good and not lift. You're going to pull it back over itself, not pull it straight up. Pull it back over itself like so. Same set this side. And there you have it. There is the bottom piece to our ultimate kit for the Asus TUF A14. Looks pretty good in silver. Thanks.